Hello everyone and welcome back to Aero League Racing Tier 2. My name is Aman and you all join me today for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's only I think a few more minutes now before we get started, so until then make sure you get yourself comfortable, grab yourself something to eat or drink, maybe a loved one, and we should be getting started very soon. Hello Saeed, I'm doing alright man. How are you doing? Hello Namies, or yeah, I'm guessing that's Namies. Good to see you as well. Welcome to the stream. Right, we have a few minutes before the start of the race, so why not take this chance to quickly take a quick look at the standings and maybe get a chance to talk about the track as well. So, obviously, after the first race of the season, Dax currently leads the Drivers' Championship with 25 points. But obviously, there's not going to be too many gaps in between drivers right now. At number 2, we have Jim, who is currently sitting with 18 points. And number 3, we have Jack, who is a reserve driver, currently only has 15 points himself. In P4, we have Jaguar with 12 points. And of course, in P5, we have Bambino with 10 points. Rounding off the rest of the top 10, we have Haggis, Bang Average Seb, Staba, Will the Game, and Julio or Julio. I'm not too sure there. And for the team standings, Ferrari currently lead the championship with 31 points. We have AlphaTauri in P2 with 26, followed closely behind by Red Bull in P3 with 12. Mercedes in P4 with 11, and Alfa Romeo in P5 with 4 points. Aston Martin, McLaren, Alpine, Williams, and Haas will round off the rest of the grid. Oh, DDK, what's good, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream, man. Yeah, I think we should be getting started very soon. So I think just a little bit longer now, but a quick chance to talk about this track, China. Track we haven't seen on the actual F1 calendar in a very long time, but regardless, we're still racing at it today. It's a great circuit. Lots of long straights. Don't have a lot of confidence here. I don't blame you, to be honest, and to be very frank with you, China, with how unpredictable its weather can be as well, it's just hard to become familiar with a track when there's so many uncertainties that can go into it. But it seems like Dax has given us the go-ahead. I think we're all set to get the Chinese Grand Prix underway. So just a few more seconds now, and we will be getting on with the first with qualifying, hopefully. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to qualifying here at China. We can see we have a bit of an overcast above the track today, which could signify that there may be some rain qualifying or later on in the race. I'm sure if any of the drivers who are currently out on track right now and are also watching the stream, they could give me an update. That'd be greatly appreciated. But It does seem to be that there is a bit of an overcast. Obviously, we'll have to see how this affects most of the drivers going forward. And it seems to be that the Alfa Romeo of Steva is actually going to be the first car out on track. So obviously, we'll be riding on board with him as he hopefully sets the first lap time here at China today. Drag conditions so far, but talking about this circuit, so you obviously have the tight and twisty sector 2, which obviously will require some pretty high downforce setups, but of course that long sector 3 with arguably one of the longest straights in F1, and obviously the pit straight not to mention, of course. So a track which has a bit of everything, a decent amount of elevation change, the long straights, the tight twisty bends, but I still do think that this track heavily favors a less downforce setup on your car. So it'll be interesting to see if drivers will be able to make the right adjustments and hopefully be able to bring out the maximum out of their cars. We can see almost every driver out on track other than Jags and Will the Game at the current moment. And it seems to be that right after Steva, we obviously have Sabbath and we have Prezemu, of course, as well. Right, I apologize about that. And just as I was talking about those conditions, we can actually see a few drops of rain beginning at the start of the lap here. Regardless, we'll be riding on board with Seba as he runs us through the first time lap through qualifying. Coming towards turn 1, obviously the double right-hander, which is extremely difficult to nail down now, regardless of overtaking. Actually, we'll be seeing a lot of drivers coming to collisions over here, and a lot of drivers spinning out around this part of the track. So, but it seems like Steva has maintained it very, very nicely as he sets a obviously purple sector 1, but that being because he is the first time car to go through that time sector. And we'll be keeping a close eye to seeing how other drivers compare as he comes through the middle of Sector 2. Obviously, no DRS in the entirety of Sector 2, and now coming towards the end of Sector 2 now. He has to prepare himself very nicely. Ooh, a bit squirrely on the exit there. I'm not too sure what happened, but it could be because of the rain that's beginning to come down. And as time is going by, this rain is really falling hard out on track. It may just be a case of who is the first driver to set a lap time in this kind of a situation, because obviously as the track conditions worsen, the wet tires are obviously going to set considerably slower lap times as compared to the other tires. But now it seems like Steva definitely had the right idea in mind to get out on track as quickly as possible and set his lap times as soon as possible, as he's definitely struggling with those worsening track conditions. Coming through the final corner now, he has to just make sure he keeps the track, he has to make sure he keeps it clean, which he absolutely does. DRS wide open, comes across the line, sets a 132.7. Let's see how the other drivers are going to be able to compare. Summit now, who was obviously right behind him, coming across the line, sets himself a 134.7, massively off the pace there. Prezemu coming across the line, setting a 134.8. DDK setting a 133.8. Then Jack not doing too bad either, setting a 133.2. And Dax, your previous race winner, setting provisional pole with a 132.1. A fantastic lap time from him, roughly 6/10 ahead of everybody else. Let's see what Alu can set for himself here. Coming through the final corner now with DRS wide open. Will he be able to take provisional pole away from Dax? Unfortunately, he will not. Manages to slip into P5 with a 133.5. And looking down the grid, we can see P Shadow now coming towards the final corner. He seems to be going a lot slower on this occasion. It doesn't look like he's really lighting the timing sheets up either. Comes across the line and he manages to set for himself a 136.7, so he's going to be staying down in P14. And now Jags and Will, obviously the only two drivers who haven't set a lap time at the current moment, are going to be out on track trying to finish their runs as soon as possible. Jags obviously now coming through the final corner out on track. He's way ahead of Will, so definitely that's going to help him out. Will, unfortunately, is going to most likely be fighting through a bit of traffic, but as Jags comes across the line, he sets a 135.0, which is not the most competitive lap time we've seen today so far. Now riding on board with Will the Game, as he's coming through the middle of Sector 2, obviously has to get past that Ferrari that did thankfully get out of his way, as P Shadow unfortunately gets disqualified from the session along with Bang Average Seb. Obviously, we have yellow flags throughout the track, and we can just look at the track map there as there's just a whole bunch of cars in a straight line down in Sector 3. It's a good thing Will has a bit of a gap. Ooh, as he gets a bit squirrely and loses the rear end of the car coming through that corner. It's obviously because of the track conditions getting wetter and wetter, but now with DRS wide open, which I'm presuming is open, yes, it is. Seems like race control hasn't disabled DRS just as yet, and now only one last corner to go. He's just gonna have to make sure that he keeps it nice and tidy through here. Will he be able to do so? William currently in P16 without any lap time set. He hasn't set any purple lap times by the looks of it. Comes across the line, sets a 136.8, and unfortunately, that looks like it's going to be the best time that we're going to be able to get from him at the moment. I will not be surprised if this is most likely the best run that we're going to be seeing out of these drivers tonight generally, considering that there was only really enough time to get one good run in with the dry tire compounds. But we'll be seeing it should be interesting. Who knows? Maybe there's a small chance that they might go out for another run. Jags obviously coming back in after his push lap, and with only a few more minutes left to go. There's a very good chance, yep, I think that most people are going to most likely be retiring at the end of qualifying, because there's really no point in staying and waiting until it's done. But I'm glad we were able to get a few lap times, and it doesn't look, and if things stay the way they are at the moment, Dax will set for himself a pole position finish. And he does actually retire from the session with a 132.16 tenths above everybody else, and will most likely be starting off in P1. Steva will be starting off in P2 with most likely. However, he has decided to go out for another potential run out on the softs. I mean, I respect the effort and I respect the attempt, but realistically, with how these track conditions are getting worse and worse, there's just no way that this is gonna work. We can definitely see that there's a considerable amount of rain as compared to the first time these drivers went around the track. But now, obviously, riding on board with Steva. We'll see if he decides to continue forward with this lap or if he decides to abandon it and goes back into the pits. Actually, as I say, there's a few drivers currently out on track at the moment who are looking to maybe push their lucks and trying to get another lap time set in. Because it seems that most of the drivers are actually now beginning to come back out onto the track to maybe set a potential other lap. So Samet has decided to go through with his lap. It doesn't look like things are any different for, I believe, that is Jax, who has also begun his second run. Steva, of course, doesn't look like he's going to be going into the pits by the end of this lap, considering how other drivers are also going for their runs. And there it is. Samet has unfortunately retired from the race, or actually spun out from qualifying. And luckily, it doesn't look like he's achieved, he hasn't gotten a massive amounts of damage there, but that's definitely going to be annoying for him as he's going to have to crawl back towards the pits. We can bring our attention down to Jags, who was on a run right behind him as well. Good to see you as well, Rigo. It's always lovely to see you as well, man. Oops, don't want to do that, but yes. Yeah, you can definitely see how much he's struggling out on track with the lack of grip there. It just seems like there's no possible reason as to why they should continue qualifying, unless like the track is gonna dry up around maybe the 6-minute mark, which like rain stops and track dries up, and there's a chance that drivers can go out for more runs, but that seems like it's very, very unlikely. And Steva has also retired from the session out on track. I might want to add as well, good chances that he probably spun out and had some sort of incident. But now Jags decides to abandon his lap and go straight back into the pits, and actually misses his braking point there entirely. Luckily, he doesn't drive into the wall, We can see Jaguar, who is currently out on an outlap, deciding to go through and actually start his second run. Not too sure if a wise decision that is. I think it would have been much nicer to save those softs for the race. But as I was talking about before the start of this race, it's just the unpredictability of the weather around a track like this that it throws in so many values of uncertainty that racing on a track like China is just a very naturally difficult thing to do anyways. But granted that we've only seen really one or two retirements out on track because of an incident, at least what I'm assuming to be an incident. Hopefully we won't be looking towards many safety cars in today's race either. And with most of the drivers not coming back into the pits, and you're in P1 and P2 also retired from qualifying, it doesn't look like there's going to be more time lapse being set in qualifying at the moment. I'm very surprised that we haven't just all forfeited and just begun the race. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we're really waiting for. I don't think there's really anything more to wait for in qualifying, or really anything else we need to try and achieve in qualifying. And just as I say that, DRS also has been disabled this lap. So race control also feeling like conditions have definitely gotten considerably worse. What's something I didn't actually get a chance to talk about, DDK, who's currently out on his intermediate tires, desperately trying to warm them up as much as he possibly can. And as he does that, he decides to abandon the lap and go straight back into the pits as he's drifting right in. Great stuff from him. Thankfully, he didn't lose control of his car there or anything as such. But we saw that DDK was under the impression that he could have. There's a very good chance that he was going to improve and possibly move himself up the grid on those intermediate tires, but obviously deciding better off it. And most of the drivers now actually deciding to start retiring from the session, as that's going to bring the end of qualifying. So big congratulations to Dax for securing pole position. Just some annoyed drifts. I honestly can't blame you, but it's just honest. P6 is not a bad place to start from either. It's just. It could always be better, of course. But that will be the end of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, in only a short while now until we should get, hopefully, the race underway. Gotta take it out on the car, mate. Honestly, if I was you, start of the race, make a U-turn, start sending it down the opposite lane of the track, and just take out the race leader. That's what I would do if I was you. This isn't on you. There's no point in taking it out on the car. Take it out on everyone else. Hello, Blood. Good to see you as always. How you is? I'm tired. Um, and I got out of bed to watch 15 minutes. Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn my stream volume down. My bad. I'm tired. I got out of bed to watch 15 minutes of absolutely nothing. I'm looking forward to the race and praying that it isn't more or less the same as qualifying. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will be the end of qualifying. Obviously, not any significant, not any changes to the qualifying order. It does seem to be Dax will be starting off in pole position. I don't believe we have a formation lap, so it's just right as the lights go off. We should be going under. We should be racing immediately. So, I guess that gives me a few seconds to set up. But yeah, so it's a few more minutes now, and we should be getting started soon. Yes, Gur. Can you riz me up? Yes, absolutely. I will take any source of entertainment at a time like this. But actually, I will put a pause on that. Maybe we can riz sound effect. Alright, bro. Who is Gur? Gur is a friend of mine. Who found out I do the commentary for you guys. Now they're tuning in as well. Yo, I'm not. I'm not gonna read that out loud, Rigo. Christ. Oh, it's Jazz, of course, of course. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go here at the Chinese Grand Prix. Daxi had seemed to have gotten off to a very, very nice start, but Steva right behind him was already side by side and already has pulled ahead of him. Heading into turn 1 has already taken the lead of the race. Jack, who did start off in P3, has obviously dropped down as Bambino is sending it down the inside and has managed to make the overtake stick. Now Bambino getting a bit ambitious, looking for a possible overtake heading into P2. Unfortunately, cannot get the move done. Has to drop back. Looking down further down the grid, we can see the Aston Martin of Jim and Zab. Aston Martin of Zab actually coming into Jim actually coming into a battle with DDK and does manage to make the move stick. Dax, who started off in P1, has unfortunately dropped all the way down into P5 after what was a terrible race start, and now we can see him practically holding up the rest of the pack as Steva is now beginning to slowly pull away with a bit of a train forming behind him. I didn't even get a chance to set the menu up or anything, but going back to the action at hand, Steva, who did start off in P2, is now your race leader. Bambino does manage to overtake Jack and now has become P2 in this race, and Jack remaining in P3. Unfortunately for Dax, who has dropped down considerably, it's only has kind of created an upwards battle for himself, at least at the start of this race. It'll be interesting to see if he can climb back up through the pack. And now we can keep our eye on Jim, who's closing in on the Williams of DDK. And will he send it down the outside? He doesn't even need to. Actually, he will send it around the outside. DDK tries to brake super, super late. And it does look like that late braking has considerably helped him, as they're still side by side, hanging to the final corner out on track. And Jim has managed to secure the position and promotes himself up into P6. So that was lap 1 for us all. It doesn't seem like there was any major collisions, but DDK obviously not done with